Alright, good day. So we are going to do a tutorial on triggers and events in Postgres. So triggers are a pretty cool feature of Postgres. Triggers automatically run a function in response to an event like insert, update, delete. So basically, these are basically hooks for Postgres database. So basically, if we have, let's say, insert into a particular table, like for example, let's say book table, then we can write a trigger when an insert is done to do certain conditions to check, and then have an operation done afterwards. So triggers are pretty useful features. So there are two types of trigger. You have the before and after. So before happens before the change. This can be used to validate or modify data. After happens after the changes, can use to log, notify, or replicate the data. So yeah, so we will create some tables and show some examples of trigger. So first and foremost, we're going to create two tables. One is called employees. Then we create another table. One is called employee audit. Then we insert some data into it. Pretty cool. And then afterwards, we're going to create our trigger function. So this is where it gets very interesting. So this is our trigger function. We'll go through each line to explain it. It's quite simple, not much different than creating a regular function. So here we have our create or replace function. So this creates or replace a function that's called audit salary change. Second line, we have the return trigger as $$sign. So this will return whatever happens in here. It will return it as a trigger. They specify that the function will return a trigger object. So this means that the function will be used in response to a database event, insert, update, or delete. Begin. This is where after begin we start to write our code. So yeah, so as you can see, this is pretty straightforward. If old salary is distinct from new salary, then we insert it into the database. And yeah, so if old salary is distinct from new salary, then we insert it into the audit or employee audit table. So we want to see if there's a change in salary, then we audit it. So, and we don't have to worry about we don't want to worry about not being able to trace these things. So we basically are keeping a log after it. So this is happening after the database has been changed, right? So this could make it easier to keep track of logs on a database level differently from an application level. So it might be better for someone who wants to just, every time there's a change in the database, they decide that they want they want to write a log or something, and the trigger function makes it a lot easier than managing code that actually writes a log to it. So depending on the need of the application. So yeah, so inserts into the audit and return new, which we say will return as a trigger event, and at the end of it you have to put the language to tell it what is done there. Alright, cool. Alright, so with our that's our trigger function. With our trigger function created, with our trigger function created, let's attach it to a table. So here we state that we created the trigger sales update audit, and after update, and for each row right, so right here we created a next trigger, and after the updates on employer for each row, when we execute the audit salary change. So this is where we attach it onto our table. So we're attaching it after our update on our employees table, and for each row, if the old value is different than the new, then we execute the audit change. So we have to attach the trigger to our table, right? And this is how we attach it to the table. So after we attach it to the table, we run this. Okay, we already have a trigger attached to it. That's good. So next, to show the trigger working, we run this statement, which is update employees where salary is. Update employees to a salary of 95,000 where the name is Clara Davis. So if we select from employee audit, we'll see all a new salary, so we can see what is happening in the database. If we change the value, and then we'll call this, now we see all the changes we saw. So yeah, we can see that the salary was increased to 195,000. Employee ID 8. Yeah, so we can see that it is updating our table, or by creating the trigger or login. So it's pretty easy. Pretty powerful tool that can get into being very way more. So yeah. So thank you for watching my tutorial. Pretty simple. Might go in depth later on, but thank you, and remember to subscribe, follow, drop a like. If you have a database question, you can drop a comment. All right, thank you.